RWBY Ice Queendom Episode 12, Best Day Ever. The season finale has officially released, so let me break it down for you. So with the main plot of Ice Queendom having come to an end last episode, many people were shocked that there was still an entire episode left. I mean, I get closure, but 20 minutes? Was it really necessary? Well, probably not, but I really enjoyed it. This whole episode is basically a slice of life anime. It's the dorms, hanging out with your friends, going to school, like mostly talking, but in a fun, laid back, nonchalant setting. It feels much more like those high school animes you'd watch, more so than I'd say even volume 1 or 2 felt like. Back then it was much more low budget, it did feel like a web series, but now having it in actual polished 2D animation felt much more traditional. And I'll be honest, I miss episodes like these. I think these are so important to build the dynamic and relationships between characters. I feel like RWBY and even Ice Queendom so easily gets caught up in whatever the plot is and trying to advance that forward. It just winds up shoving the characters into the situation. It makes things so much harder to just talk and bond because they're amidst the action all the time and they're too busy trying to deal with that. Ice Queendom barely managed to get away with that because they were allowed to be pulled out of the dream where they could recollect themselves. But I feel like so much can be missed by not taking advantage of the slice of life aspect in RWBY. The Atlas arc is a great example. The characters never quite settled in any time during the story. They arrived, were arrested, and then all hell broke loose. I think not giving the characters actual time to relax and unwind is part of the reason we got that tea scene. Instead of this gradual shift in tone from the characters feeling comfortable to then having to fight in a war, they were always in this heightened state of battle that the writers thought it would be a good thing to have them chill, but it was quite infamously at the worst time. I would have loved it if a portion, if not all, of Volume 7 was with the main characters relaxing when they got to Atlas, bonding with the Aesops, establishing them and their dynamics to each of the characters. Taking that time to focus on the characters. Plot still can be happening, but it's just not happening to the main characters. Instead, what we got was a quick montage before they were thrown right back into the thick of the drama. I think it's important when it's solely the characters' personalities and dynamics carrying an episode, rather than what's happening. And I think that's why I enjoyed this episode. There was no bigger thing happening. It was mostly just them. It was a similar reason I really liked episode 6 too. When you have the characterization of these girls down, they can carry nothing because they get a chance to be themselves. So I really liked that aspect of the episode. We also get to say goodbye to Xion. Boy, did they have a hard go at it. Do you know how rough it is to sleep in a hammock? You can't really adjust your body, you're really locked into one position. I tell ya, it's not for everyone. Xion was really working overtime for this lot. You could tell, really invested. Long day's work, you can tell. I'm just kidding. Before Xion leaves, words of wisdom are passed down regarding the evolutions of semblances. Originally, all Xion could do was read the hearts of people, but then it evolved into whatever the hell entering the dream hellscape is. But most importantly, everyone's left off with an important message about people. Everyone has their good and bad side. It's within everyone, but it's important not to take people fully for either one. With both light and darkness, it's almost as if it creates some sort of gray area where morality can lie within people. Hey Xion, don't worry about it. Team RWBY ain't gonna heed your advice. Good and bad, you're right. There is only good and bad people that exist in the world. Either you're with them or you're the bad person. Got that, Xion? You're either with them or you'll die. You don't want to die, do you? I don't know where you went, but if you're in Vacuo and your paths cross, you're gonna help them or you're gonna die. Hey, God knows this advice ain't for Team RWBY. You cannot watch volumes 1 through 8 and come to the conclusion that morally gray is a concept that they grasp or was a lesson that they were taught. Anyway, Xion, good to see ya. My advice, if you ever show up again, head on a swivel, and if Team RWBY finds you, you can help or be morally shamed and then die. As for the other aspects of the episode, Ozpin does have 2 scenes, one where he talks to RWBY vaguely about her silver eyes, but she hardly remembered what happened and instead literally thanks the power of friendship. God, do I hate that. Anime has made me hate the power of friendship so much. It's so stupid. I mean, I would love to say that she meant it metaphorically, but knowing how the actual show goes, I don't think it is. And after that, he has a talk with Blake about her being a faunus, and he feels so unnecessarily ominous. He was like a parent saying, "Is there anything you'd like to tell me? No? Are you sure?" Yeah, so Ozpin's being that guy again. Then after this, everyone just chills out at a cafe. Sun's there, they all promise to keep Blake's cat ears and White Fang association a secret. And then we get the food fight from Volume 2. Something I don't get was a lot of people's excitement about getting this reanimated. Like, I would get it if this series was meant to be a remaster, update the graphics, tighten up the storytelling, and turn it into a 2D anime. But in reality, this show isn't that. So when I see the food fight having had like a budget put into it, I'm kinda disappointed because there were really only 3 big, highly animated fights these 12 episodes. There was Weiss versus the Armagigas, which was in the white trailer. There was the final battle with Evil Blake, that's original. And then there was the food fight, which was in Volume 2. I don't see the appeal of seeing fights we've already gotten and people already like be reanimated and take away from the new product. This is Ice Queendom, and yet there was like one original cool fight that went kinda all out. There are tons of cool animated moments that look great, moves that change the aesthetic, but fight scenes? There could have been more original sequences done, but it feels like they wasted their efforts on stuff that was already done. Like, be honest, is anyone going to actually return to this food fight to watch it as like the definitive version? I don't think so. I will say part of me was hoping that they were gonna set up some kind of season 2, but not like season 2 of Ice Queendom, because with a name like that, you're strictly limited to it being about Weiss. I thought it would have been the perfect opportunity, because there was a line this episode about Team RWBY inviting Juniper out to a cafe which reminded me of it, which made me remember the cut concept of Raven fighting Team Juniper at a cafe. And so I thought it would have been such a great chance to put that in as like an end of episode stinger, setting up for a new series and story. Especially because Yang this season had a fairly limited role and didn't do much. So I've seen many people talking about if a new character had to be given the spotlight, who would it be? And rightfully many people said Yang. And Volume 2 is where Yang talks the most about her mom and where we learn of her. Now, does it make sense for Raven to attack Team Juniper before Volume 2? Not really. Plus, a storyline with Raven that fits into the canon doesn't quite make sense either. But then again, I'm still under the opinion that Shaft should not have tried to make their series canon and to just do their own thing, because a lot of changes have been made. Enough to warrant, I would say, a different timeline. But fuck it, I would have given anything to see Raven in Ice Queendom. And just a different story between Yang and Raven that wasn't Volume 4 or 5. But anyway, that does it for Ice Queendom. Overall, I think it's an enjoyable watch. I don't think it stands out too much, especially in regards to other anime. I think it's one that you'd watch and it'd be considered decent, but that's it. I think they've definitely hampered themselves in some areas, constantly repeating the same things over and over again and dragging things out longer than they probably needed to be. That time could have been spent elsewhere doing other stuff. I also just hate the general fact that they tried to make this canon instead of spinning off and doing their own thing, or just being allowed to ignore or change the show altogether. I feel like that cage really binded them and limited what they could do, and I'm sure the pandemic didn't help either. I'd love to see more stuff from them in regards to RWBY. They absolutely nailed the 4 girls' personalities. If they just want to make a slice of life anime with them, with a touch of action, then I'd be all down. But anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts on this episode and Ice Queendom as a whole. Did you enjoy it? Could it have been better? Anything and everything, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.